everyone, it's Stephanie here, and I'm here today to share how I created the background of this card that I created with the September Simon Says Stamp card kit. I decided I wanted to create this multicolored background. I've done it before on a card with a full background stamp, and I really like the look of the different colored panels side by side on the background. So for this one I wanted to use these stars, so I could use the Shoot for the Stars sentiment with the card. But the problem was I had the strips of pieces of paper to do the star stamping on, and because the stars are in a circle formation, it wouldn't have worked out for me to stamp it continuously because it would have that arch of the circle there. So what I did is I cut the stamp in 3 pieces, which is completely fine. If I want to use it as the circle, I can just piece it all back together on my acrylic block. But for this purpose, I needed just a straight line of stars, which was the center row of the stars in the stamp. So as you can see there, I just cut it straight out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on a block and stamp it continuously along the strip of the Neenah white cardstock there, and then I'm going to emboss that with white embossing powder. It did take a little bit of time, so it's not a 5-minute card by any means, because it takes a little bit to do all of the stamping and embossing on each of the separate panels, but it was worth it for me just to be able to get that background that I wanted. So you can see there I stamped the first one, and with the Versamark it's really hard to see where you've stamped. So what I did to make it easier is every time I did a stamp of the stars, I would put the white embossing powder right on so I could see where those stars were on the strip. And then when I continued to stamp the stars, I positioned them back and forth so that the stars actually fit in between each other instead of were side by side. So I just continuously did this, stamped them, and then added the embossing powder onto each of the stamped images. And then once I had all of them fully covered in the embossing powder and stamped on there, I heat embossed the entire piece. So this one here is a completed one, and I'm just going to show you how I created the pink panel on that card. You can't see it yet because it's white embossing powder, but that whole piece is embossed with the stars. And I'm just going to go ahead and add the Picked Raspberry Summer Seasonal Distress ink right onto that piece. And now you can see those stars coming through because the embossing powder resists that ink. So I'm just going to completely cover that whole piece, and you can go as light as you want or as dark as you want. Just the more ink you add, the darker your piece is going to be. I went semi-dark with mine, and then I just went around the edges to define each of the edges of each of the pieces once I had fully done the middle part. So I just went ahead, I'm not going to do it in the video, but I went ahead and did all of the pieces that I needed to create the card. And then I needed to work on that focal star point that I had there. So I just used some Spellbinders dies that I've had for quite some time. I'm not sure if these are still available. And I cut out 3 pieces of Neenah white cardstock with the star dies. And I used the distress inks that I had already previously used on the card in the strips, and just put them directly onto the star piece with the foam applicator. As you can see here, I just went right to the star directly and just kind of smushed my applicator around to make sure that it went on super dark. I wanted to make sure that the star stood out against the background, since this is pretty colorful and busy once it's completed. So I wanted to get those as dark as I could. So I did the pink, and you can see there it's a little bit darker than the ink that I had put on the panel. And then I just did that with the additional stars, and then the top star you can see has a little dimension there. That's actually a Studio Calco wood veneer star that I had, and I just used a black Copic marker and colored the top of that so that it would contrast and go well with the sentiment stamp as well as the base of the card, which is black cardstock. And then I just adhered that into the center of the stars. To complete my card, I just used a black Copic multiliner pen and outlined the 2 biggest stars with some black stitching lines, just to give them a more defined edge since they were against so much color. And then I die cut a banner from Neenah cardstock and stamped my sentiment directly onto that. So that completes the card for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.